On our first wedding anniversary, my mother-in-law showed up uninvited with a cake and a photo album of my husband's exes. She said, "Just so you know where the bar was set." My husband laughed and flipped through the album. I watched them reminisce over people who weren't me. That night, I took off my ring, slept in the guest room, and started researching apartments. By anniversary number 2, I was celebrating alone, in my own space, with peace as my +1. Our first wedding anniversary was supposed to be quiet. I had it all planned in my head. Derek would come home, we'd eat dinner at home, maybe dance a little, talk about the future, maybe even talk about trying for a baby. I had been thinking about it a lot.
I'm 34.
I figured we were in a good place. Or I thought we were. I made pot roast his favorite. Got his favorite whiskey. Wore the dress he once said I looked ridiculous hot in, his words, not mine. He came home just after 5, gave me a quick peck on the cheek and smiled. "Smells awesome, babe." 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I hadn't invited anyone. We weren't expecting anyone. So I was confused. I opened the door. It was Cheryl, his mother. In one hand, she held a box from a bakery. In the other, a big photo album, one of those old leather-bound ones that looked like it had been sitting in her closet for a decade. She walked in like she owned the place. "No, hi. No, how are you?" "Just, happy anniversary, sweetie. I brought cake. And memories." I stood there, stunned. Derek walked over and hugged her. Like this was normal. Like this wasn't completely weird and inappropriate. She set the cake down on the counter. "Chocolate. I hate chocolate."
She knows that.
Then she sat on the couch, opened the album, and said, "Remember Jenna?" Oh, she had the cutest laugh. Derek laughed and said, "Oh my God, I forgot about Jenna." I just stood there. They flipped through picture after picture. Prom with Jenna. Spring break with Elise. Christmas with some girl named Marcy, who I never even heard about before. "Oh, Elise," Cheryl sighed. "She always dressed so classy. Look at how she carried herself. Like a real lady." I said nothing. I was still holding the spoon from stirring the gravy. My hand had gone stiff. Derek never once looked at me. Never said, "Mom, what are you doing?" Never asked me how I felt about it.
He was laughing.
Reminiscing. Enjoying himself. At one point, Cheryl said, "Don't worry, honey. I'm just reminding him where the bar was set. You're doing fine." I nodded, slowly. My ears were ringing. After she left, Derek didn't say a word about it. Just poured himself a drink and asked if the roast was ready. Like nothing happened. I took off my ring that night when he went to sleep. I didn't make a scene.
Didn't yell.
I wasn't even sure what to say. It was like something in me had turned off.
A switch.
I looked at the ring in my hand for a long time, then slipped it into the back of my nightstand. He didn't notice. The next morning, I had coffee at the kitchen table while he got ready for work. He said he had a busy day. Kissed me on the forehead. I didn't kiss back. He didn't notice that either. After he left, I opened Zillow and started looking for apartments. I didn't tell anyone. Not my sister. Not my friends. I just looked. Every day. Little by little. I made a spreadsheet. Costs, locations, lease terms. It gave me something to focus on. A goal. We still had dinner together. We still went to family events. But I was already gone inside. It felt like acting. Like playing a part in a bad play I didn't audition for. 4 months later, I found a place. Downtown Boise. Not fancy, but quiet.
Clean. Safe.
I signed a lease on a Tuesday. I moved out on a Thursday. I waited until he left for work. Then I loaded my stuff into a friend's SUV. No movers. Just me, 2 friends, and a pile of boxes. I left the ring on the nightstand with a note that said, "I'm not competing with your past. You never gave me a chance to be your present." He called once. Left a voicemail. Said I was being dramatic. That his mom didn't mean anything by it. I never called back. 3 weeks after I moved out, Derek showed up at my new apartment. I should have expected it. He never asked where I went. Never asked to talk in person. Just that one lazy voicemail. But I guess curiosity finally caught up with him. Or maybe his mother finally stopped cheering him on and asked where his wife had gone. He stood in the hallway holding a small grocery store bouquet.
I didn't let him in.
I just want to talk, he said. You can talk right there. He looked tired. Not like he'd been crying or anything. Just worn down. I didn't know you were so upset, he said. I thought it was just a weird night. Mom was being mom. I stared at him. You didn't know? He shifted. I mean, yeah, it was awkward. But she didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't answer. He kept going. You just left. No warning. No conversation. That's not fair either. Now that made me laugh. Oh, now you want fairness?
He sighed.
Look, can we just hit reset? Maybe talk about counseling? You brought your mother into our marriage, I said. She disrespected me in our home. And you didn't even blink. You didn't defend me.
You joined in.
You flipped through pictures of women she wishes you married. He didn't say anything. You weren't remembering your past, I said. You were showing me I didn't measure up. Still nothing. I'm not a replacement for someone else, I said. I'm not the cleanup crew after your mom's nostalgia tour.
He looked down.
So that's it. That's it. He left. I didn't hear from him again for another 2 months. Then the guilt letters started. Not from Derek, from Cheryl. 3 of them. Handwritten. Sloppy cursive. On floral stationery. The first one said she was sorry I took things too far. That she was only trying to help me understand Derek's history. As if I'd asked. The second said she was shocked I gave up so easily. That marriage is about forgiveness. The third one hit different. It said, you won't find another man like Derek. He has a deep heart, even if he doesn't show it. You could have had a family by now if you'd stayed. I crumpled that one and threw it in the trash. But it stayed in my head. You could have had a family by now. Something about that line made me freeze. Because she didn't know. Nobody did. I was already 6 weeks pregnant. I found out the day after I moved out. And I didn't tell a soul. I found out I was pregnant the day after I moved into my apartment. I hadn't missed my period yet, but I just knew. My body felt off. My chest was sore. I had these sharp little dizzy spells and couldn't stand the smell of eggs, which used to be my favorite breakfast. I took a test while unpacking boxes. I didn't cry when it turned positive. I didn't smile either. I just sat down on the bathroom floor, back against the tub, and stared at it. It wasn't part of the plan. But I didn't panic. I didn't call Derek.
Didn't tell my sister.
I didn't even put it in my journal. It was like holding a secret so big, I couldn't risk it slipping out. I didn't want advice. I didn't want pity. I wanted to think. I made a doctor's appointment. I kept going to work. I bought prenatal vitamins and a body pillow. I kept living. But something kept burning in the back of my mind. Cheryl's letter. You could have had a family by now. It wasn't just tone deaf. It was strategic. She wrote it like a punishment. Like staying with Derek was the only ticket to family. Like walking away from him meant walking away from everything I could ever want. So I made a decision. I didn't tell Derek. And I wasn't going to. I would raise this baby without him, without his mother, and without their fake idea of family. But fate's a messy thing. Because one morning, just over 3 months into my pregnancy, I got a call at work from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. I listened to it on my lunch break. It was Derek. Hey, I'm not trying to bother you, but I ran into your sister at the pharmacy. She didn't say much, but she looked shocked when I asked how you were. Then she said something about getting enough rest for 2. I'm not stupid. Are you? Is that true? I froze. I hadn't told my sister. She must have found the vitamins in my bag when we met for coffee. Or saw the baby app on my phone when I wasn't looking. I cursed under my breath and texted her. We'll talk later. Please don't say anything else. Then I sat in my car and stared at my phone. Another message came in. This time a text from Cheryl. You're pregnant. Derek told me.
I'm shaken.
Why would you keep this from us? From him. Then another. That's his baby too. Then another. You're not going to get away with this. That one sat different. Something about get away with this made my stomach turn. By the time I got home, there were 2 voicemails from Derek. The first was confused. The second was angry. Said I had no right. Said he'd fight for custody if I tried to shut him out. I hadn't even decided what I wanted yet, and they were already turning it into a battle. I turned off my phone for the weekend. But they didn't stop. Monday morning, there was a folded letter under my apartment door. Handwritten. No envelope. It said, "You don't get to walk away and keep the prize."
Cheryl.
I called my landlord, asked about security footage. There wasn't any. He shrugged like it wasn't his problem. So I called a lawyer. I didn't know if I needed one yet, but I wasn't going to wait until I did. I found a lawyer. Her name was Ruth. She was tough, maybe mid-50s, with tired eyes and a voice like gravel. When I sat down and told her everything about the anniversary, the album, the letters, the pregnancy, she didn't flinch. She just said, "They're going to try to corner you. You're going to need to think 10 steps ahead. Are you ready for that?" I was. Because I was tired of playing defense. I was tired of waiting for their next move. And more than anything, I was tired of feeling like I owed them anything. Ruth helped me get ahead. We filed for full custody before the baby was born. In Idaho, that meant preparing everything in advance. Proof of stable income, medical records, even letters from coworkers and neighbors about my living environment. We submitted everything. 2 weeks after the baby was born, a little girl named Lila I got served. Derek was suing for joint custody. Cheryl had helped him pay for a family lawyer. She'd even submitted her own statement, calling me emotionally unstable and vindictive. She said I alienated Derek from his own child. They thought this would scare me, but I'd come prepared. Ruth helped me dig through my old phone records, texts, even photos. The voicemail Derek left, the one where he said he'd fight me if I shut him out, that became Exhibit A. The letter Cheryl slid under my door? I still had it. It went in 2. I didn't need to prove they were monsters. I just needed to prove they weren't safe. The court process took months. I didn't let Derek meet Lila during that time. That was hard. Not because I missed him, I didn't. But because part of me hated what this would mean for her. Growing up with a father who wanted rights, but didn't want responsibility. A grandmother who viewed her as a trophy. A prize to be won. The day we went to court, I sat across from them in silence. Cheryl wore pearls and a stiff smile. Derek didn't look at me once. Their lawyer tried to paint me as cold. She made a secret life, he said. She refused to co-parent. She didn't give Mr. Willis a chance. Then Ruth stood. She gave him a chance. On their anniversary, in their home, and in their marriage. He chose to mock her. He chose silence. And his mother crossed boundaries no new wife should ever have to deal with. This wasn't abandonment. This was escape. The judge asked Derek if he had anything to say. He paused, then said, "I didn't know it mattered that much to her. I just thought it was funny. I didn't mean anything by it." That was his big defense. I didn't mean anything by it. The judge didn't look impressed. 3 weeks later, the ruling came. I got full legal and physical custody. Derek could petition for supervised visits once he completed a parenting class and 6 months of therapy. Cheryl was barred from contact. I didn't celebrate. There wasn't a party. No glass of champagne. But that night, after I put Lila to sleep, I sat by her crib and whispered, "You will never be a photo in someone else's album. You will be the whole story." Cheryl still sends letters. I don't open them anymore. I scan them in case anything threatening pops up, then throw them away. Derek hasn't petitioned for anything. Last I heard, he moved back in with his mom. The man who once laughed through pages of Exes now spends his evenings drinking in a house full of dusty trophies and framed memories. And me? I still live in the same apartment. I still drink tea at night. I still don't wear my ring. But every now and then, when the night is quiet, I remember that cake. That stupid, ugly chocolate cake. And I think to myself, she brought dessert. I brought the end of the game.